So the DAW we are using, Digital Audio Workstation, it's Pro Tools. That's our main software. It's like the industry standard for studios. But at the same time, people use all kinds of software, but this is the one I've been using for more than 10 years. So yeah, I'm used to it. So I'm going to show you a little bit how I have everything set up, like the template, and how I have all my gear already hooked up and working. So I hope you learn from this. So this really makes my workflow much easier. So the first thing I did is, since I have lots of inputs and outputs, I went into Setup IO, and I decided to go into Input and change the name of the different inputs so I know what I have exactly in which channel. So I know, for instance, I have my Synths, I have my SPD, I have my SPD SX right here. And also I have my different preamps. So I have my Quagliardi, I have my Coltrum. Then you can see that, for instance, after the input number 32, the rest is from my Focusrite Claret. That's my I/O, so I know exactly what is plugged into each channel. So I have to be remembering, did I plug in the preamp in channel 32 or did I plug it into channel 23? Another thing I have plugged in permanently is reamp box right next to my lunch box. So this allows me to connect guitar pedals, for instance, or go straight into an amplifier from my DAW. So that's really, really cool. So the next step is making the template. So I have a channel for each of my synths and my instruments already hooked up, ready to go. So for instance, one of the cool things is that since I have everything connected via USB and MIDI, that allows me to use every kind of hardware instrument as a piece of gear, as a plugin, and load it up really quickly. So I have, for instance, my MIDI channel here, and I can select the output and take it anywhere I want. So for instance, I have my SPD SX from Roland. Something I always do is to connect a sustain pedal to be able to use it as a kick, so it's more comfy. Then I can just play along to whatever I want. I can do that and record it straight to Pro Tools. Or for instance, I can use the MIDI channel here and select my input, my Arturia Keylab, and select the output to go to the SPD. So I have everything right at hand. I can go straight to the Micro Freak. I can go to my Poly D, that is the Behringer kind of the Mini Moog. The Cobalt. I can choose my Drum Brute. So I have everything permanently patched up. I can get my MIDI and send it to my MS-20 Mini. I can send it to my vintage M1 from Korg, which didn't have USB. So what I had to do is actually get a MIDI cable that goes from MIDI to USB. So that allows me to use my original Korg M1. And one of the cool things I want to show you guys is that if I go into program changes, I can change the presets without getting out of my chair. This is really cool because now I can, for instance, choose the... Now I have like the organ, the famous organ that they used for house music in the 90s. So that's really cool. I can also change it to number 3. And also if I want to just make my own presets and load it up really quickly, I just have to do right click and save track preset, and I can have my whole list of M1 presets. I really, really enjoy that. So also I have other synths like the like the vocoder. It sounds a bit kind of like Depeche Mode. That's like the Behringer version of the vocoder. It's a copy of the vocoder from the 70s from Roland, and it has the same sounds. It has like 3 sounds. It has like a chorus kind of vocals that you just heard. It has some strings, and it has the vocoder part. You can actually use a microphone straight into the vocoder, or you can use an external input. I have the external input patched into my patch bay right here, and that allows me to be able to have a vocal inside of Pro Tools and send it to the vocoder, and using the MIDI keyboard I can program the vocoder. So that allows me to do that without getting out of my chair. Another cool thing. Now, for instance, I can use the Polybrute, that is a synth from Arturia. And for instance, this is an analog synth, but it's controlled digitally. So that allows you also to have a plugin called Polybrute Connect that allows you to connect the synth and the plugin, and you can control it. The plugin doesn't make any sound because actually the sound is coming from the keyboard. Another synth from Arturia is really cool. It's the Arturia Mini Freak that allows you to have a VST that functions on its own as a standalone. And you can connect it and you can control the VST from the synth or vice versa, or you can load and exchange presets in a really easy way, and that allows you to have 1 Mini Freak per channel. I have lots of Arturia gear here because I'm an artist for Arturia, for my main channel basically, but also I'm going to leave everything linked up below so you can go and check it out for more information. Another very cool thing I want to show you, I said before I have the reamp box connected to my pedals on the floor, and this is really cool because I can just, from the drum brute for instance, I can have my channel coming in and I can send it out using the output 31, that is the one going to my reamp box back here, and that goes to my pedal board, and from the pedal board goes into my really weird old delay that is really cool, and then it goes straight back to Pro Tools into this channel called Pedales. Before we move to the next topic, I'm going to tell you how I use my analog hardware gear for processing audio. So what I like to do is mix hybrid, and to be able to mix hybrid, what I do is I load up an insert point into my channel and then I just print it. So to do that, you have for instance, you have your channel with audio, and you just load up like if it was a plugin, your I/O, and for instance in insert 25 I have the Quagliardi preamp that is like the API. I really like to use that as an analog hardware insert because it really gets everything nice and crispy, and it has really nice saturation since it has like really good quality transformers. So once I nail the sound I want, I just do right click and hit commit, and that's it. And then I can work in the box again and use the analog hardware for another channel. So I'll have to have 1 hardware per channel, which would become extremely expensive. Remember, I'm leaving everything linked down below so you can check it out. And if you're liking this content, please consider subscribing.